Hi, welcome to the channel. You may be able to tell that I'm winding up to taking Krieg to a tournament very soon, and so what I'm doing is digging into everything to try and find what's best. In this video, I'll tell you which is the best guard tank. I am including everything from the index in this, so we have super heavies like Baneblades, medium heavies like Macarius and Malcadors, and the more standard Lehman Russ types. Going from the smallest and cheapest to the biggest and most expensive, we have 8 Lehman Russ variants, 4 Malcador variants, the Rogal Dorn, 3 Macarius variants, and 9 Baneblade variants. They all have pretty similar movement, sponsor options and saves, so they differ with the size of the model, the amount of rooms and their primary ranged output. So it's going to be hard to pick a best one. I'll start with the options that seem easier to figure out first. The problem for the Malcadors is that it didn't get a price drop on the data slate. Priced at around the same price of a Rogal Dorn but with lower toughness and less firepower, why would you ever take one? A standard Lehman Russ has the same stats but it's significantly cheaper, so I feel the Malcador variants are out of the running. As soon as you get to about 300 points plus, you get to Toughness 13 and Titanic. The problem there is they can't be used for Overwatch anymore. Out of the Macarius variants, the Vanquisher is probably the best. You get Toughness 13 and 20 wounds, OC 8. It's the cheapest at 285 points and has the best gun. Its positive and negative is that it has one good shot, but at the same time that's only one shot. Yes, it'll hit on 2, Strength 18 with full rerolls to hit and wound against monsters and vehicles, minus 4 AP and D6 plus 6 damage, but it's only got bolters alongside this, so against something with an invuln you'll probably find that they just save it, or CP reroll a save for that one shot. A lot of points for nothing. So as much as I love the models, the Macarius variants are out. In a recent video I ranked the Baneblade variants, and the best 3 were the Shadow Sword, Storm Sword and Bane Sword. The price is on the screen for each, so they're expensive. You get the usual Toughness 13, 24 wounds and OC 8. In terms of the overall competitiveness compared to the pack, I think the Storm Sword and Bane Sword are the best, as they have lots of shots at Strength 16, minus 4 AP and good damage. They also both have a type of splash damage which deals mortal wounds as well. Picking just one at the two at this moment is hard, so they'll go through to the final round of judging. The Rogal Dorn goes straight to the final round. It's Toughness 12, 18 wounds and a lot of firepower. It has a great variety of weapons and probably the best gun for its points in the index, the Oppressor Cannon. Once per battle, the tank can change the damage of an attack to 0, so facing something with one giant shot it can just ignore it. A real powerhouse at 260 points, I'd go for the Oppressor Cannon, Pulverizer Cannon both with 3 damage, and the Coaxial Autocannon also damage 3, but that has a better ballistic skill than standard. It also has 4 Melter Guns for D6 damage and Melter Rule for an extra 6 shots. Now it gets more complicated because we have 8 Lehman Russ variants and I've included the Tank Commander in that. I'm going to select just the ones to go to the final showdown. They all have the same base stats, Toughness 11, 13 wounds, 2 plus save, Movement 10 and OC 3. They can all take the same sponsons, so to judge it's down to their primary guns and special abilities. I still love the Vanquisher and it's the cheapest at 155 points. Same problem having only a single shot, but it's still able to hit on 2s and rerolls wounds against monsters and vehicles. With a Sentinel you can reroll hits of 1-2. It's minus 4 AP, D6 plus 6 damage, but against invulns it's unreliable. A lot of vehicles have a 3 plus save, so in cover that's still saving on 6s, and it probably won't one-shot anything. So as much as I love it, I'm not going to include it. One of the best is the Lehman Russ Exterminator. 180 points and actually a force multiplier for your army. There's a great auto cannon, 4 shots or 8 at 24 inches and damage 3. And while it can chip off damage from really tough things, its flat 3 damage is really aimed at elites. And it's also twin linked, so rerolling everything for those bigger targets. Its ability is when it hits a unit, all of the units in the army that target it get an extra AP. You can stack this with the strat for more AP also, so you can really ramp up focus fire on an opponent's special unit. What guard don't struggle with though is anti-elite firepower, so what I'll pick next is something to give your army a bit more diversity. The Demolisher Lehman Russ. It's got D6 plus 3 blast shot, strength 14, minus 3 AP and D6 damage. This is wounding everything on at least 3s, which is nice, but does have that really swingy D6 damage, and has a 24-inch range cap. This is the sort of tank you can push forwards, as if it gets charged it can shoot into and out of combat without any negatives, so your opponent won't be tying it up. It is the most expensive Lehman Russ though at 200 points. A Tank Commander at 205 points has access to all the guns and none of the special rules. You take one of these as it can issue an order, which is likely going to be take aim for +1 to your tank's ballistic skill. Unfortunately it only has one order and kind of needs it to buff itself. It can shoot on death, but those abilities aren't that great because you don't really want it to die. So it can take a Demolisher Cannon, but it's worse than a dedicated Lehman Russ as it's still 24-inch range and needs to be pushed up, but it doesn't have the fire into combat buff. I think it makes sense to take the Lord Solar instead, who gives out 3 orders, and the other dedicated tanks which have the special abilities too. And we have our finalists. Let's have a look. You got the Lehman Russ Demolisher for 200 points, Lehman Russ Exterminator for 180 points, the Rogal Dorn 260 points, Bane's Sword 480 points, and the Storm Sword 495. Are the Baneblade variants worth 2 of the other tanks? They are harder to kill and can smother our objectives to stop an opponent even standing on it. They have more guns and more powerful guns, but is it twice as good? In the end, I think the answer is that Titanic Super Heavies aren't twice as good as the smaller ones. So while they have the rule of cool, having some small tanks works better for you. So we have our top 3 then, and I put them with the Rogal Dorn in top spot, Exterminator in second, and Demolisher in third. The Dorn is just so much gun for its points, and that extra toughness makes a difference. The Exterminator has more play to buff your army than the Demolisher, but all 3 are good to take. I'd love to know how you'd rank guard tanks and what you'd pick out as your favourite. Also, if you watched this far, why not consider giving the video a thumbs up? It really helps the channel. And maybe if you watched a few of my videos, become a subscriber as well. I'll see you again soon. Bye.